We live in an era where everything is supposed to be frictionless. We demand instant power, instant content, and the algorithm makes sure we never have to think again. But what happens when you realise that a frictionless void's just selling you a very expensive illusion? This weekend, I decided to test a theory. I wanted to see if the actual soul of the cinema you watch is directly proportional to the physical friction it takes to go and see it. Spoiler alert, it is.
Getting old sucks.
It's Friday night. It's about 9 o'clock. The house is finally quiet, the endless bedtime routine is done, and I'm just running on absolute fumes. There is exactly one thread of physical effort left in my entire body. But my weekend of cinematic course correction actually started 24 hours earlier. Thursday night was when I officially submitted for science. The easiest, most frictionless option in human history was staring me right in the face. Streaming platforms have spent billions making sure you never have to think again. So I booted up the app, you know, that one. It was still logged into my daughter's profile from K-pop Demon Hunters for the 6,000th time. And there it was. The Void had gone entirely out of its way to make sure the wider world knows that a film called Apex exists. It's been everywhere recently. Charlize Theron was climbing a rock face in New York for a publicity stunt, but more importantly, Taron Edgelord was vibing to a 2015 Chemical Brothers track. Now let's be honest, Taron Edgelord's career has felt like one long session in mediocrity without climax, yet here it is, front and centre of a forced algorithmic trap. I only scaled the heights of clicking play to understand exactly what this multi-million-dollar marketing machine was trying to sell me. The reality is Netflix doesn't care about anything outside that opening week buzz. They just need to drive immediate views and eyes, and then they can relegate content straight to the bucket. It's an ecosystem built entirely on recycled familiarity. Hey, we caught you with Carry On a few years back. Here's Taron Edgelord again. Oh, you caught the old guard and are still alive to tell the tale? And then you might have caught old guard too? Look, go get your Charlize fix. Talking of Charlize Theron, remember when she popped up at the end of a Marvel movie post-credit sequence and we had to stare at Benedict Cumberbatch's afterthought of a third eye? This film's the kind of streaming equivalent of that. Look, what they're selling in Apex is a total illusion. There's a shot in this movie of Taron Edgelord, shaved head, shrouded in the dark, illuminated by a single yellow source. It's a direct, shameless copy of Marlon Brando's Colonel Kurtz Apocalypse Now. Coppola used that lighting to show a man whose soul had been completely devoured by reality. In Apex, it's just a cool filter slapped onto a guy whose menace feels entirely artificial. He isn't Kurtz. He's Hannibal Nectar, a toned-down, sugary, focus group-tested serial killer engineered not to upset the casual scroller. He's playing a feral cannibal. But Taron Edgelord fundamentally refuses to go full tilt. You can almost see the internal dialogue running through Charlize Theron's eyes across the set. She's looking at him thinking, first time you brought a shiny crossbow and a Spotify playlist? You need to see the literal psychological checks I had to write to get Monster made. This whole production is a monument to the streaming grift. They shot it in Australia, drinking so deeply from the well of local tax write-offs. They even threw in Eric Bana as the token Aussie national treasure, which probably saved them another 10% in write-offs. But what do they do with him? They kill him off in the Norwegian avalanche before the plot even reaches Australia. In interviews, they proudly revealed that the original script gave the character a standard 10 minutes to escape, but on set, Taron Edgelord decided he wanted to use the Chemical Brothers song he'd been listening to on his headphones as a backdrop instead. You have until the music stops. The director just smiled, nodded, and handed the steering wheel to an actor's whim. See, Netflix didn't just choose a visionary director to build a narrative, no, they built two A-listers, front and centre to justify your monthly fee, and they catered to the whims of an edging champion to create TikTok soundbites. It's a viral moment completely unrelated to the actual merit of the film. That brings me back to Friday night. After Thursday's corporate lobotomy, I needed a cold shower. I needed to get out and see something tactile, something real. I didn't use that last remaining thread of human energy to push the Netflix button again. Instead, I grabbed my keys, got in the car and drove 25 minutes in the dark because there were murmurings that a low-budget horror film called Obsession was coming out. And that was my only option to see it over the weekend. So I went. I walked in to find a cinema entirely full of young couples on date nights and my lone old ass sitting right in the middle of them. But my god, what a fucking roller coaster of a movie. The closest thing I can think of recently is the madness of Zach Cregger's Weapons from last year in terms of this ever increasing sense of what the hell. But unlike the puzzle box structure of Weapons, Obsession's just a straight linear narrative. It's cheap, but not in how it looks. It looks infinitely more real and tactile than the green screen rubber dinghy rapids of Apex. When a movie doesn't have a massive marketing campaign using A-list as a human shield, you get the rare, unfiltered joy of a blank slate. I didn't even see a trailer for this one. And these no-names are going to be names very soon, especially Indy Navarrete. She has the hardest role to nail, and if she misses the mark, the entire film falls apart, but she absolutely smashes it. The nature of the possession is hinted at, but what is actually happening is something even more terrifying. There's moments that build on the idea that somehow the character Nikki is still sentient in some trapped realm. Those moments are massively unsettling. It is shot beautifully, utilising darkness and shadow with incredible precision, rather than relying on some cheap jump scare affair. This isn't a barbarian type film where the rug's entirely pulled out from you halfway through. If I spilled the spoilers all over the floor right now, I'm not gonna, but it wouldn't sound too surprising on paper. But the beauty of this film, much like Weapons, is purely in the journey. It's got this Evil Dead, like the Sam Raimi back in the day ones, vibe to it. Look, while the destination is disturbing, this film stays with you, gnawing at your brain long after the credits roll, completely unlike the frictionless post-wipe of Apex. The wider world building and the helpline for the One Wish Willow might be setting up some kind of quasi-sequel, but honestly, this should just be a one and done. It respects the bargain. You gave it your time, your effort to drive through the rain, and it rewarded me with genuine cinematic energy. But the real escalation of this experiment in friction required a much longer road, specifically a 400-mile round trip down to Bristol for a work gig. And I had a couple of nights to kill. Tired version of me might have just ordered room service and let the frictionless Netflix void wash over me all again. I've got a taste for the journey. Plus, when you're on expenses for a work trip, you kind of got to get your fill. So I went down to Three Brothers Burgers on the water. I lined my stomach with a burger and a massive stein of beer, and I walked over to the Watershed, a fantastic independent cinema right on the riverfront. I looked at the local showtimes and found a film that none of the multiplexes back up north had even sniffed at, Mark Jenkin's Rose of Nevada. If Apex is the slick, digital, hyper-marketed plastic of the modern streaming era, Rose of Nevada is the absolute antithesis. Jenkins shoots on a hand-cranked clockwork Bolex camera using 60mm film. It's a mystery about a Cornish fishing crew vanishing for 30 years only to mysteriously return, trapping them in a salty maritime time loop purgatory.
That boat was lost.
Are we gonna try again?
So I took my paper ticket and walked into a screen that was somehow 2/3 full on a Monday night, and I watched an usher manually dimming the lights from the side of the room, a real person controlling a physical space. And that physical, tactile nature bled right onto the screen. The Bolex camera that Mark Jenkin used can only roll for 27 seconds before it physically stops and has to be rewound. And that limitation actually dictates everything you see on screen. There's no 2-hour digital take where actors just improvise until they stumble onto a viral moment. Every single frame, every cut and every breath is a mechanical necessity. It forces a brutal, brilliant economy of storytelling. The film is an eerie, quirky exploration of loss, the loss of self and the decay of a community, and it absolutely refuses to hold your hand. It is the definitive anti-Netflix experience. It doesn't spoon feed you an algorithmic resolution so you can look at your phone. It demands you sit in the dark, exist in the ambiguity, and actually do the work. Sitting there watching a film about things fading away, the irony hit me. We haven't actually lost these genuine cinematic experiences. The algorithm hasn't killed them completely. They're just rarer now. they're tucked away. And that is the grand irony of the modern streaming machine. We pay a monthly fee for the privilege of a fictionless existence. We let an algorithm log us in, shove a thumbnail of Taron edgelord in our faces and tell us what to watch so we don't have to think. But that fee doesn't actually buy you cinema, it just buys you access to a very expensive UI. It buys you a heavily subsidised, tax-deductible B-movie that only exists to keep the lights on and the retention metrics steady. Real movies? The ones that actually stay with you, the ones that respect your intelligence, reward your time and remind you why you love this medium in the first place, they require a gateway. They require a bit of difficulty. They require you to log out, get off the couch, walk out your front door and actively seek them out in the dark. And I will see you next weekend for The Mandalorian and Grogu.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Would you like to know more?
Movies, popcorn.